that is usually when I spend the most time with God.
Yeah, cool. Gabe, what about you? How do you continue to grow and develop as a leader?
I think it's just the consistency in knowing what is needed. So like he was saying, praying, reading your word, really breaking it down. Whether you get 5 verses in or you get 2 chapters in, as long as you receive something and you're able to dissect it and speak it to someone else, and you know that you're confident in what you just read, I think that's the most important thing. And then also having mentors around you that you look up to, just to really not overanalyze them, but just see how they go about the things, because you value their leadership more. And so you try to take some things from like you or from, I just blanked out, from Gennaro or from Christina or John or Sean, really just dissect them and see why they do things. And that's really what I would do.
Do you like take mental notes, or are you writing physical notes? Are you taking and going, as far as this person's concerned, I like that they do that? How do you do that?
It's more like a mental note. I think if I were to, like, as you were talking to me, just pull out my phone.
Yeah.
Writing, you'd be like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
So it's more of a mental note, just seeing how, if a situation comes up, change of plans, how do people react to that I look up to? And that's really what I would dissect and be like, okay, they do that. That's probably something that I should do too.
And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on here for sure, is because you more or less representing the college age that could hit two kinds of sides. There's the adult that maybe, because I've been coming to church for so long and I just see so many of the same faces that might have those questions of what do I do? How do I get started? And then being able just to see you and say, well, it sounds like he just stuck it out. He kept going and he kept being a part of it. And there were times where you would show up without your girlfriend. We did that Bible study where she wasn't there. So it wasn't that you needed to hang on to her as you came to do church things, but it was also another reason for having you is because there are so many college age people that don't have those mentors, that don't have those, or maybe they don't even know that they should be looking for a mentor, or they need somebody to be looking up to. I was talking to somebody the other day that was talking about how when they have questions, they don't have anybody to go to. They don't have somebody in their life that over the years or however long they've been, I guess, needing help or had that realization, they just never developed anybody in their life to be that kind of person. But what it sounds like you're saying is that you don't have just the one that you idolize. You have a variety. Is that right?
Yeah. And then I guess also you could look at certain pastors that you would listen to normally, and you could also do the same thing with how they receive stuff.
Wait a second, you listen to more than one pastor?
Yeah.
Is that allowed?
I think so.
Yeah,
I think
100%. Yeah, because there's sometimes that this person just, whatever season you're in, it helps. I do want to ask you guys, what is it, especially, you're leading like these little kids, and technically it just kind of changes as you go. You've got little kids that eventually when you get to his age will be the same little kids, and you've got little kids. You're not a freshman anymore in high school. What motivates you to lead? I'll start with you, Gabe. What motivates you to keep going?
One, I know that God has called me to do something with the youth. It's not just, after high school, there's really no pathway after high school for people that are involved. You get your college group, and then it's either you get involved with the church, with one of the youth ministries, or that's might be it, So I think having the confidence and knowing that that's what I'm supposed to be doing with different things that I've experienced, that's what motivates me to keep going. And then also knowing that if I get burnt out, what is that going to do for my walk as well? Because I've learned that when I'm helping out other students, I'm also learning things about myself that I didn't know before.
Yeah. Oh man, there's an expression like, it's something about teaching it. Like if you really want to learn something, teach it. And that seems like that's such a huge key. What about you?
Well, what motivates me to continue leading is I really just strive to be like Jesus. And you look at how he led, all he ever did was serve. When he was on the cross, he served the guy right next to him. When he was getting beaten, he served the guy that got his ear chopped off. He's just constantly serving no matter what he did. And for me, I have I'm in high school. I got a lot of free time.
Mhm.
So it's like, okay, I could be using that time to help out whoever it is around me, whether it's other high schoolers or the little kids, just giving them my time and letting them know that I'm there if they need anything.
So you kind of have this idea. My wife has just cannot understand why I can't just like lounge around the house. I'm somebody who always has to keep doing something, whether I'm fixing something around the house that because it seems like there always needs to be something that needs to be fixed, or I go into the garage and I do something. It sounds like what you're saying is with your free time, instead of going to, I don't know, the mall, instead of riding your bike all over town, getting into some bad things, you're using this availability or this energy that you have, and you're going, how can I better use this to not only know God but to share what I know about God? Right? Take notes out there, everybody. Just, I know you're on your lunch break, probably enjoying a sandwich or some top ramen or something, but or corner of a brownie. But it really just doesn't get any more simple than this. I want to ask you guys, what have been some lessons that you have learned as somebody who leads? Now, I want to take it in a couple of ways, because we've been talking about just leading like the youth, like for you, for example, but you also have a girlfriend, and there is some leadership that is required there. You have friends, and there's some leadership required there. We had conversations about some friends that don't go to church that you still hang out with, and there's some leadership required there. Yeah. Same with you. You have siblings that you're at home with. There requires some leadership there. There are friends that you hang out with that requires leadership there. You're online like every normal high school kid, so there's some leadership requirements there. So what are some lessons that you guys have learned when it comes to being a leader just in your everyday life?
The first thing that has really stuck with me is that someone told me you don't have to be fit before you go to the gym. So what I took out of that was I don't have to be perfect to serve. I don't have to be perfect to lead others, because if you look at the Bible, God has used every imperfect person that you could think of. You go from David, you go from Paul, you go to Daniel, you go to Joseph, and all these people had imperfections, all these people had flaws, yet God still used them to really further the kingdom. And with all the wisdom that they had, you learn from that, and that's really what I've stuck with, because sometimes I don't feel adequate. Sometimes it's like, who am I to tell a high schooler how to live their life in the midst of, in the world, rather than living for God, you know? And sometimes it's tough, but that's something that has really stuck with me, and I'm currently trying to apply, because I know that God has called me to lead other people and to love on them, show them who God is, show them the love that he gave me. I have to show that to them.
Do you do that same thing when it comes to like your friends, like your same aged friends?
Yes. A lot of my friends that I went to high school with, they really fell off the deep end after high school. And
what does that mean?
Falling off the deep end, I guess you could say, they're not trying to follow Jesus.
Okay.
You know, they party, drink, smoke, do the things that Christians wouldn't do. And so at that same time, you still have to show them that love. You still have to show them that sympathy. And when they're down, when they're in that negative place in life, you know that what I've realized is that when I'm there for them, when things are good, they're the people that come to me when things are bad. They're like, dude, you went through this. Like, I'm going through something. How do you have such a positive attitude? How do you go about this? And then that's when I'm able to really minister to them and be like, this is why. My attitude's like this because I have Jesus.
Yeah.
And then that's really how it is.
So you didn't cut them out of your life. They're still, in some facet, maybe you don't hang out as much because, I mean, life tends to kind of take time from you. Yeah. But you still make that time for them.
Yeah, every now and then. And then I usually hang out with them in the day because I know at night they're going to get into some things that they shouldn't be getting into. So it's also that self-control, knowing, because I was once part of that. So knowing your limits of like, okay, I can't be around them for too long because eventually they're going to like smoke, or eventually they're going to go to the tobacco store or something. I know my time to leave, but still during that time I cherish it, make it known to them that I love them, that I care for them. And that's really all that you can do.
Yeah. What about you, Eli?
I would say that the best lesson that I have learned would be that a good leader leads by example. and the way that you live your life, the actions that you take speak louder than the words that you say. So I guess also would be being gentle and always coming from a place of love. Because if you're just trying to shove something down someone's throat, most of the time it won't go through to them. But if you're gentle and then they also see that that's how you live, they're going to be like, oh, dang, I want that, you know? So
Did you have a moment where that was kind of tested in front of a kid or something, or tested in front of your siblings or something?
I had a friend, actually, Raza.
Yeah.
He is an atheist, and we would have the most pointless debates ever. And guess what? He's still an atheist.
Yeah.
So it's like I can try to like say I can only do so much, but what's really going to convince someone to live a life that follows Jesus is the way that I live my own and the way that I love other people. And if I just know that that is the most effective way to change someone's life.
You're like respectful of them. You're respectful of the fact that they don't come from your lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're respectful that they don't know the things that you know, because that's been something that's just been so hard. It's almost like when you tell people about the love of God, you're describing a dream that you don't have the words for. And so understanding that can be frustrating. If you've ever tried to tell somebody, hey, I had this dream and what happened was I can't describe it to you. And that's similar when, how do you know God's real? And you're just like, I just know. I can't really describe it to you. And so instead of using that frustration to attack your friends, you remind yourself to be patient and gentle, and you obviously are able to have discussions with your friends that they can bring an opposing viewpoint, that you don't write them off, you don't argue with them, you don't insult them, you don't whatever, and you maintain that relationship. And so from that, have you seen that happen with like little kids? Like as you're in the CE, like do you find them mimicking you and you're like, oh man, I gotta watch the way that I respond to those things?
Yes, I've noticed that kids definitely, they're always listening, and they will do almost everything exactly how you do it.
Yeah.
And for me, how I would, I guess, show my love to my friends, I'd pick on them. Like, that's what you do as boys.
As a guy, for sure.
I just say, like, I'll say something about them that's mean, but really I'm just like, I'm making a joke, and we laugh about it. But then when a kid repeats that, it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Probably shouldn't say that. So that's really, like, kind of corrected me. I'm like, all right, I gotta really watch what I say around these kids and just around everyone, too, because someone is listening all the time, whether it's a kid or another high schooler or even an adult, someone is listening.
Yeah. And these are like good life lessons you guys are learning. I'm 30 years old learning some of these things. And I remember one of the greatest things about being involved in both like the middle school and the high school was the fact that I got to see the impact of parents on middle schoolers, the impact of parents on high schoolers. And you see, later on in life, there are so many adults that because their dad did this or their mom did that they're still dealing with these things as adults. And so we get to be, unfortunately, what happens in the lives of these young men and women is the volume of their parents gets turned down and our volume gets turned up. And so you can be, I remember going to summer camp a couple of times, and for whatever reason, my volume gets turned down on everybody and the volume of the speaker gets turned up on everybody. And the speaker will say the exact same thing that I've been preaching for years, and the kids hear it and they hear it for like the first time and they're crying and stuff. And I'm like, that wasn't even a good way of doing it. I did it better. But it's just the reality of the situation. And what you guys are learning are really just life lessons that will help you with how you will be dads, with how you will interact with your kids. And that's one of the benefits of getting involved in general, in sticking it out with people who are difficult. Like you said, like you've insulted me I don't know how many times over my lifetime. But these are things that because we've stuck it out, I'm sure there's things that I've said that you don't agree with or have done, but because we've stuck it out, we didn't just quit when it got hard, or we didn't quit when it got difficult, or, when you're in the high school ministry, like, oh, Tom never hangs out with me or whatever, because you didn't just use that, you didn't put all your emphasis on me, you put it more on Christ, you put it more on the relationship with God. We can now sit back here and years later be so thankful of pushing through and continuing, and obviously knowing that we don't have it all together, but we're working in the direction of not only being better men, being better sons, being better neighbors, being better co-workers, but also being better men that are involved in the body of Christ. And so with that question, or with that, I have a question. What are the leadership qualities that, though you have all this experience, what are the qualities that you are continuing to work on?
Serving unconditionally, because I've noticed in my own life that I tend to help the kids that'll come up to me, or I'll be there for the kids that want the help, and I'm not necessarily like going out and talking to the kids that are like sitting by themselves, or not really what's it called, interactive, you know. I'm mainly just going to the kids that will come to me first, and I see like that's not really how it should be, because the love that you spread to one kid should be the same love that you spread to all of them, and it's unconditional, and you're not doing it for you to get this feeling of I did something good. You're literally doing it for Jesus. So I guess, yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Working on just being unconditionally serving.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? How does one even begin to work on something like that?
Realize that it's not about yourself. You don't serve for yourself. You serve for people, and you want the best for people. It's kind of like what they were talking about last night. You're going to give your friends the corner piece of the brownie because it's the best piece.
Mm-hmm.
Even though you might want it,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to take the not as good middle piece and give them the corner piece.
Yeah.
So just realizing that you need to give what's best for the other person.
The other person. That's good. What about you, Gabe? What are you working on?
One thing that I'm working on is just being bold, I guess. There's been I guess you can say it's like my car is in park with the way that I go about things. It's
Okay.
not like something that's out of this world. I'm not thinking outside of the box. I'm just thinking like this is what needs to be done, and more of not I guess putting more of my heart into it, and knowing that the experiences that I've had with God and the God stories that I have, no one can tell me that I didn't interpret them the wrong way, or that God didn't speak to me, because my life is a great piece of evidence of his existence, and there's no way that anyone could tell me other than that. And
Mhm.
the goal is to spread it to others so that they can see it for themselves, that their life is just as important as mine, and that God came here to save us.
Mm-hmm. We recently, as a leadership in the high school, we got together. We took this thing called the Enneagram test, and your dominant number was a peacemaker, right? Isn't that the number 2, something like that?
It was the helper and then the peacemaker.
The helper and the peacemaker,
Yeah.
which those are very good strengths to have in that, at being your personality, but it also could be a negative thing, which is why you're saying, like, basically you're trying to push yourself. You're trying to get out of, instead of just being, I'll just be the right hand that's quiet. I'll be the right hand that just waits for marching orders. Sometimes you got to take those responsibilities into your own hands. You got to tell people, you got to pray for people. You have
to take stand for what you believe in. And if I can't depend on other people to make an idea that I should be making.
Yeah. Do you guys have any recommendations for people who are trying to be a better leader, trying to be a better brother, better son? Do you guys have any recommendations? I know you're a reader. You and I have talked back and forth about that one book that Pastor Ron talks about, the mysteries, that one mysteries book. But do you guys have any recommendations for anybody out there who's like, I just want to be better in my capacity of leading? Do you guys have any like recommendations, any podcasts, any whatever it is that you guys go to?
I really don't read anything outside of the Bible.
That is the holiest answer
wow.
we've heard the entire time.
Well, you might, I mean, yeah, I guess, but I really don't, I'm going to be honest, I don't go out of my way to read another book. I just focus on what Scripture says, and then I do that.
Okay.
And then I would also, I would just say, keep showing up. And the more you show up and the more you do, like, you're just going to get more responsibilities. And then eventually you'll be where you want to be.
What about you, Gabe?
Like he was saying, First and Second Timothy
Ooh,
is something
more
that,
specific than you were. That was vague. You
good
had
job.
the entire Bible. Sorry, go ahead.
okay, but specifically First and Second Timothy, because Paul's writing to Timothy, being like, "Yo, this is what you got to do," and then he came back again in Second Timothy and was like, "All right, you got to do this," and it's literally the blueprint of how to be a leader: be above reproach, be gentle, be loving, be kind, and that's something that I read specifically, like, okay, I need to read this because I know that there's so much juiciness in this book,
Dang.
these books.
I've never heard anybody describe that before. Yeah.
There's so much meat
Juicy.
in it.
Ooh, meat.
Yeah, that's what I was
Juicy
trying to say,
meat.
but I didn't
Yeah,
say
juicy.
but- and then a book that I'm reading right now is called Help I Work with People by Chad Veach, and he's a pastor in LA, and that's something that I've been reading, and it's helped me out. It's helped me to really simplify leadership,
Mhm.
because ultimately you're just being a cheerleader for somebody, and ultimately you're just trying to influence others and really establish, I guess, I guess just leading other people in a way that, knowing that, I just blanked out again.
I'm having a hard time. I hear
I
it.
am having a hard time. What is it?
I don't know, but you
Did I
said
answer
help.
your question, though?
You did. Help I
Okay.
Work with People by Chad Veach and First and Second Timothy. Those are
Yeah.
your go-tos.
Okay, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I do appreciate you guys for coming on. I hope that helps for any of you guys out there. Please enjoy the rest of your lunch hour if you have that, or the rest of your lunch break if you're at home doing whatever. But we do appreciate you guys coming down and listening to us, listening to these guys share their wisdom. And we look forward to seeing you guys hopefully here soon. And we'll see you guys later.